The important thing is, I have 5 minutes and then we must count here my 5 minutes. The important thing is the result. Yesterday, a journalist, Claudia, asked me what were the numbers. In specific numbers, results, in business results. And I said, I don't know yet the numbers. But what matter more are not the numbers. What matter more are the people. And people who are here that every year come back and bring results, and many results come from this meeting. So I'm very happy that you are here, so we can talk about the results and show new partnerships that we have. Even the honor of start talking about these partnerships when Dr. Frank Orden came here in June and had a very good meeting with Embrapa players. And talking about Embrapa, I could not mention something that's very important that people sometimes don't realize. Brazilian agribusiness is doing a fantastic role. I welcome Ingo and Nina. I'm very happy to see them. You arrived just in time. And the Brazilian agribusiness is a fantastic role in the moment, and it's playing all over the world. The best image, I would say, oh my God, I forget, I take the other one. One of the best image of Brazil. But without Embrapa, we wouldn't be in this very high place. Because it's much easier when you look the horizon, when you are in the shoulder of giants. And not only Embrapa, and of course, all the research institutes that I see here. And then it's for them that I would like to save my last minute that I'm seeing this twinkle here at the time. An homage to these giants, anonymous giants, but they deserve the applause and the recognition. And it's for them that I dedicate my last minute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bea, for these very warm, welcoming words. My name is Dr. TILMAN. I come from the Agricultural Ministry in Germany. I've been joining this very fruitful cooperation in the bioeconomy between Brazil and Germany since, I think, 2016. So I really saw it grow. I joined most of the 7 participations at GreenRio here. And I will set the scene a little bit for you. The meeting today, or this event today, the aim of the event is to show you, the public, what we're actually doing. It's not a minor to mention, we're very proud of our cooperation because it's a cooperation that is very fruitful. It's very, it has concrete results, as we will see today. So for several years, we decided to report back to all of you, in the interested public, what we're actually doing. Because you need to do good things, but you need to talk about these good things too. And that's what we're doing today. Usually we start these meetings like this with a report from what is going on in the bioeconomy policies in both countries. And I'm really happy to have this very high-ranking table here today where all the 4 partners of the German-Brazilian Bioeconomy Cooperation are represented. That's a cooperation between the agricultural and the ministries the agricultural ministries and the ministries for science and innovation from both countries, Germany and Brazil. And now, in this very first table, we will hear about what is going on in both countries. So I will give the floor first to our Vice Minister for Agriculture in Germany, Ms. Claudia Müller, please.
Thank you, and now the mic is working as well. Dear Bea, dear colleagues, friends, dear guests, I'm very delighted to be here today to open this joint German-Brazilian workshop on the bioeconomy. Germany and Brazil are united by many years of successful and trusting cooperations in many fields, but especially in the area of bioeconomy. The Brazilian and German ministries of agriculture and research embody this cooperation, and they are on a very good terms with each other. A workshop on the bioeconomy has been taking place every year within the scope of GreenRio since 2017, as mentioned, and this continuity, only interrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic, is proof of our excellent cooperation. This certainly is the way forward, because in recent years, the challenges we face have not become smaller. The consequences of the climate crisis are even more visible worldwide. For example, we are witnessing an increase in devastating forest fires around the globe this year. And at the same time, Russia's illegal war of aggression against Ukraine and its global impact is showing us that overall, we need to become more crisis-proof and resilient. We need to accomplish a great deal at the same time, preserving our natural resources, slowing down the climate crisis, and, above all, ensuring food security for a growing world population. The bioeconomy plays an important role in mastering these challenges successfully. In the context, as a sustainable production and use of biomass are of particular importance. Only substantially produced biomass can help us achieve our targets in the field of climate change mitigation, biodiversity, and energy transition in the long term. At the same time, we can increase our independence from fossil resources through sustainable production and use of biomass. Therefore, there is no doubt that the demand for biomass will continue to increase. However, it is also beyond dispute that the global potential of sustainable available biomass is limited. Against this backdrop, it is essential that we are meeting here today in order to bring us to speed up on the matter, engage in an exchange on our progress, and talk about how we can move forward together. Ladies and gentlemen, the bioeconomy can make an important contribution towards finding solutions to our current problems around the globe. Germany is very much aware of this potential and has responded by developing a national bioeconomy strategy. This strategy is currently being supplemented by an implementation plan, and Dr. Zboralski from the Federal Ministry of Education and Research will tell you more about this implementation plan in a moment. Another important issue that we are currently addressing is the limited availability of biomass. We are already able to make use of biomass in many different ways. However, we will not be able to meet all demands in the long run if we want to adhere to the objective of sustainable biomass production. So, there seemingly seems to be a conflict of interest. The key term in this respect is usage competition. So we have to make sure that all resources are put to its most efficient use. And that means that we take all of the effect of the usage into account. For example, the effects on the climate and the environment. So in order to ensure global food security, food production must have priority over using foodstuffs as raw material, as animal feed, and/or for fuel production. Food first is the principle, it is our top priority. And in order to enshrine this priority in our political agenda, we are currently developing a national biomass strategy in Germany. And through this national biomass strategy, the federal government of Germany aims to steer biomass streams towards a sustainable and efficient use. This way, we would like to ensure for this valuable resource to be distributed wisely and used in its best possible manner. This means that we respond to the increased pressure to use biomass in a constructive manner, because there already is a significant pressure to exploit nature conservation areas and land that we need for production of food. Now, the demanding rise for the usage of biomass is by no means the only reason for this. The rise in conversion of land to settlement or traffic areas, including areas being used for further expansion of renewable energies, also adds to this intense pressure on land usage and production means of biomass. We therefore aim to achieve a sustainable and well-coordinated use of all our resources in the medium to long term, and to contribute to climate change mitigation and biodiversity conservation. By adopting this national biomass strategy, we are creating the required framework in Germany. We are going to establish a mix of instruments with practical steering effects, which ensures the sustainable, climate and resource-efficient production and use of biomass. I am confident that thereby we will reduce currently existing disincentives and, above all, create new incentives for the sustainable use of biomass. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2016, the bioeconomy was chosen as an area of cooperation at the meeting of the German-Brazilian Work Initiative, Agribusiness and Innovation. And today, we can see that this issue continues to be more and more important. And at this point, I would like to mention that our Federal Minister Özdemir has already visited Brazil in March this year. And the objective of this visit was to further enhance cooperation between our two countries, especially following the change of government here in Brazil. And among other things, it was agreed to renew the mandate of the Initiative on Agribusiness and Innovation. And this renewal of the mandate shall be used to adapt the successful initiative to the changed circumstances. This mainly addresses the challenge of ensuring global food security, realizing the right to adequate food for all people, whilst preserving our natural reserves. The bioeconomy is one of the central pillars of this cooperation, and it can make a significant contribution to master all these challenges. That is another reason why I'm now looking forward to hearing more about the current projects and our steps forwards, and I wish us all a very successful and productive workshop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claudia Müller, Vice Minister for Agriculture in Germany. Thank you very much for those insights on the work we're doing, especially on the biomass strategy. We will now hear, as announced, a little bit more about the development and the main activities in the bioeconomy from the view of the Science Ministry in Germany. Dr. Katja Zboralski, who is the Director of the Bioeconomy Unit at the Federal Ministry of Education and Research in Germany. We have her online. Please go ahead, Katja.
Thank you very much, TILMAN. I hope you all hear me.
We hear you well. We're not seeing you yet, but we're working on that.
Okay.
We
Give
see
me a
you
sign
now.
when you see
you
me.
now.
Perfect. Well, distinguished guests, it is my great pleasure to send you a warm welcome from Berlin. Mrs. Müller has already set the frame for your event, especially in explaining the context of the global challenges we all face and talking about the German-Brazilian cooperations. As a representative of the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research, I feel very honored to share a couple of steps our ministry and the federal government in total have undertaken to promote the bioeconomy. It's a blueprint that highlights our commitment for forging a path towards a more resilient future through the power of bioeconomy. Ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of 2020, as mentioned by Mrs. Müller already, the federal government of Germany adopted the National Bioeconomy Strategy. Alongside went a strong commitment towards bringing the bioeconomy forward through a participatory approach. On the one hand, the strategy builds on the National Research Strategy Bioeconomy 2030. This research strategy laid much of the groundwork in terms of research, development, and innovation in various subdomains of bioeconomy. On the other hand, the current strategy builds on the National Policy Strategy Bioeconomy to weave the various political strands together within a single coherent policy framework. The more integrated approach of our new national bioeconomy requires a high level of coherence on the policy-making side. It also requires leveraging the knowledge and the practical capacities and capabilities of the different stakeholders involved, from industry, from society, but also from science. With this in mind, in 2020 and in 2021, the German Science Year was dedicated to the bioeconomy. The main objective was to communicate scientific and socio-economic aspects of bioeconomy to the public. Thus, the Science Year Bioeconomy gave insights into what the bioeconomy is, where we currently stand, and what we aim to achieve by implementing it. We invited the public to get involved in projects, in competitions, and youth campaigns. People had the opportunity to experience selected fields of science and technology in a hands-on manner. Thereby, a broad range of methods was used for sharing knowledge in a way that is easy to understand for public. This included films, online formats, but also workshops and discussion rounds. Additionally, in December 2020, the Bioeconomy Council was set up in a new configuration as an independent advisory body to the federal government. The Council develops recommendations for concrete actions to implement the national bioeconomy strategy from the perspective of the various stakeholder groups. In May of this year, the Council delivered a first batch of recommendations to the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. You can find an English version at the Council website. Currently, on the basis of these recommendations, the ministries are drafting an implementation plan for the national bioeconomy strategy, which was also already mentioned by Mrs. Müller. The plan will show how the implementation of the strategy has progressed so far and in which areas the federal government will take further actions and strengthen its commitment. Since the presentation of the National Bioeconomy Strategy, we have taken numerous steps to advance the adoption of the bioeconomy. Let me give you just a few examples from the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. We published new calls for proposals for small and medium-sized enterprises in the bioeconomy. The objective is to broaden and strengthen the industrial base and make the bioeconomy more circular. We also invested in research, development, and innovation for groundbreaking novel technologies that enhance our industrial capabilities. Thereby, we try to bring together biotechnologies and other technology areas and disciplines. Together with the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture, we renewed our commitment to develop an integrated monitoring system for the bioeconomy. The second phase of this joint effort progresses well. A first report with the results of the monitoring of the German bioeconomy has been published, and a public website has been set up, also with an English version. So I really encourage you to browse the wealth of data that the monitoring has accumulated so far. Lastly, we have continued our funding of international cooperation with partners from all over the world. Thereby, we strengthen existing partnerships and also we develop new ones. One of our flagship initiatives, Bioeconomy International, will celebrate its 10th year anniversary at the end of this year with a major event in Bonn, Germany. Our last funding activity in the frame of this initiative dates back to 2021. This joint call which we conducted together with the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture and our Brazilian partners at MCTI and MAPA, turned out to be very successful. For this reason, we are very interested in continuing this cooperation and to set up a second call for 2024. I know our funding agencies are already working on its preparation, so hopefully we can report on this in a bit more detail at the next GreenRio conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure all of you agree. In order to find solutions for the numerous challenges we all face, joint efforts are required. We have to cooperate and combine forces. Therefore, I would really like to thank you for organizing this event and for coming together in Rio. I would have loved to come also, but unfortunately it was not possible. Anyway, I think it will strengthen our international collaboration, and also it will help to exchange ideas and best practices on our way to achieving a sustainable economy. I wish you lots of fun and good encounters on this event and stimulating discussions. And to all the researchers here today, I would like to say, please keep up your good research, because there is still so much to do. We need your open minds, we need your eagerness for new knowledge and your innovations in order to be able to solve the challenges we face. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Katja Zboralski from the Federal Ministry of Education and Research. Thank you very much for rounding up the picture of the German activities in bioeconomy. I'm sure you will have the chance to come here next year. So hopefully it works better than next year. Well, we heard now what is currently going on in the bioeconomy policies in Germany. And we're coming now to the Brazilian side. I'm happy to invite Mr. Leandro Bortolozo Pedron from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation to tell us a little bit about the Brazilian view.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. Yes, you pronounced my last name correctly. Thank you. Well, I would like to thank you, everyone, especially for Beatriz, for this invitation and organizing this amazing GreenRio. Also, as we heard until now, the German side of what's been happening with bioeconomy. So thank you, Claudia. Thank you for the representation of the Education Ministry of German as well. Brazil and German has a long history of development in joint of areas that not have been different as in bioeconomy, since both of the countries apparently, and as we have been talking now, have been established this bioeconomy as one of the pillars to sustainable development of their economies. So, as well as the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation in Brazil also have been working from the past years to establish bioeconomy as one of the main policies to make an effort to make it possible to have an economy and science sustainable. Between 2012 to 2020, 2021, the Ministry of Science has started a project called Audibio that was to search the opportunities and challenges of bioeconomy. This project had made possible working with academy, industry, and affairs policy with other ministry involved to establish a strategy for the Ministry of Science and Technology to implement bioeconomy as a tool in all perspectives. As I mentioned, this project has received contributions from other entities of federal government, academy, and industry as well. Because we will not be possible just have government working, but industry as well implementing the technologies that bioeconomy can achieve. The strategy for bioeconomy from the ministry is structured in 4 main pillars, which was settled by sustainable production, industrial manufacture, knowledge management, and support to biobusiness. This strategy is very important because we will allow to the critical sectors of bioeconomy in Brazil, as well the chain producers of Brazilian biodiversity, sustainable agriculture, industrial biotechnology, new materials, renewable chemical, bioenergy, and green transition to green transition from energy, new foods, new systems of biomanufacturing industry, and chemical industry as well. It's important to highlight that the synergy of the actions of the Ministry of Science and Technology is aligned with other government efforts for bioeconomy, which is allowing us to discuss and start to implement a structure of national bioeconomy governance and laws for bioeconomy. As an effort and in joint action and conjunction of these actions for bioeconomy, the ministry last year has launched several public calls to foment the researchers and as well the industry. So we launched two calls, one focus on ICTs, that is for researchers, another for companies, and this public call has received several projects. So the government this year is we received more than 50 projects, and the first public call was possible to implement 18. So this government decided to supplement public call to make it possible to contract more than 50 projects. So we're putting more than 100 million reais in just one public call focused on bioeconomy. So as well, yesterday we have the opportunity to have a conversation with other government here, with the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of International Relationships as well. So the Brazil is looking to implement with bioeconomy our new politics to industrialization, to ecological transformation, that is to make possible to implement a new plan of sustainable development of Brazil. As you may see, Brazil is making a lot of efforts to improve our economy as sustainable as possible. We are looking and preparing ourselves to important international events, as well the presence of G20 and the BRICS, and in 2025, the COP30 that will be realized in Brazil. As you may aware of, several weeks ago, Brazil held in Amazon region, the Cúpula of Amazonia, that as well, including other terms, bioeconomy was on the lead one that have been discussing. So the development of a bioeconomy, sustainable as well circular, is a commitment of Brazil. Once again, I would like to thank you for listening what German side is doing about bioeconomy, that our conversation here is to make our collaboration even more stronger. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leandro. Yesterday we had the chance already in our bilateral meeting to hear a little bit about the impressive work Brazil is doing in the bioeconomy. It seems there's a big national momentum in the moment, and I'm sure in our bilateral cooperation we can use that speed and use that strength you're building up here. So thank you very much. We're now hearing Dr. Alessandro Cruvinel from MAPA. I would like to invite you to add a little bit on the MAPA perspective.
Bom dia, eu vou falar... Me ouvem? Ok. Eu vou falar em português, então, já que temos a oportunidade de ter a tradução, aguardar um minutinho enquanto os colegas se posicionam com os fones. Bom dia a todas e todos. estamos aqui, então, nós vamos falar um pouco do Ministério da Agricultura, especialmente, mas também falando um pouco de bioeconomia de uma maneira geral. Quero agradecer, Bia, pela oportunidade de a gente estar aqui. Quero saudar aqui os colegas de mesa, Claudia Müller, do Ministério, ministra do Ministério da Agricultura da Alemanha, Leandro Pedron, né? TILMAN SCHACHTSIEK, obrigado. E, bom, Bia começou falando um pouco sobre a Embrapa, o nosso secretário executivo adjunto, Kleber Soares, que sempre está aqui, né, Bia? Então, ele mandou um abraço e nós estamos aqui representando, com essa missão de representá-lo. E quero iniciar falando um pouco sobre a questão da bioeconomia, uma visão, ela está entrando como um tema central no governo, né, esse ano. E nossa visão de bioeconomia, pelo menos, temos que ter 3 pilares importantes, né? O primeiro pilar de uma produção de base biológica, né? O segundo pilar tem que ter a inovação como um tema central, né? E também a sustentabilidade. Então, existe toda uma discussão de conceituação, mas esses 3 pilares acho que são fundamentais, e depois a conceituação que vem aliada, ela complementa, mas isso é muito importante, esses 3 pilares na bioeconomia, na nossa visão. Bom, então, sobre a questão da bioeconomia entrando na agenda central do país, eu ressalto a estruturação de uma política que está em elaboração no governo, no executivo. Ela está sendo capitaneada pela Casa Civil e pelo Ministério do Meio Ambiente, mas com o envolvimento de todos os ministérios, né? Então, tenho aqui o colega Bruno, que faz parte, que está lá junto com a gente, também representando, para estruturar, então, Bia, essa política, essa estratégia de bioeconomia no país. Então, já passou da hora, né, do Brasil se organizar todas as iniciativas. É claro que o país já atua com bioeconomia há décadas, mas a estruturação de uma estratégia nos traz mais força para que nós possamos ter o melhor direcionamento das políticas públicas para que a gente possa atingir os resultados necessários. Uma segunda iniciativa também foi a reativação do Conselho Nacional de Desenvolvimento Industrial. Então, o Conselho Nacional ele é capitaneado pelo vice-presidente Geraldo Alckmin e o Ministério do Desenvolvimento, Indústria e Comércio. E, a partir do Conselho Nacional de Desenvolvimento Industrial, que desenvolvimento industrial tem tudo a ver com bioeconomia, né? Não é só agricultura ou produção de biomassa, mas nós temos que pensar também na bioeconomia avançada. Então, a indústria faz parte, por isso a bioeconomia tem tanta complexidade, porque ela tem que envolver todos os elos da cadeia e todos os gestores de política pública também. E essa política, no Conselho Nacional, nós estamos desenvolvendo então a política industrial, o MDIC está desenvolvendo a política industrial, e eu destaco 2 missões. Essa política ela é distribuída em missões, e 2 das missões, Bia, possuem a bioeconomia como tema importante. A primeira que eu destaco são as cadeias agroindustriais sustentáveis e digitais para a segurança alimentar, nutricional e energética. Então, nós estamos falando de sustentabilidade, estamos falando de energia, e é claro que tudo isso também conversa com o tema. E, em segundo lugar, eu destaco uma missão que ela é específica para a bioeconomia. Então, ela está lá na política de desenvolvimento industrial, e é a bioeconomia, descarbonização e transição energética. O que significa isso? Significa que o governo federal está se estruturando, colocando missões com metas, com objetivos, para desenvolver essas áreas de maneira articulada, né, e consistente, para que nós possamos avançar ainda mais nessas temáticas. Então, toda a questão da descarbonização, transição energética e também de sustentabilidade nas cadeias agroindustriais. Bom, agora como políticas em construção, que também conectam vários ministérios, nós estamos estruturando um plano nacional de proteínas alternativas. Tá? Então, o MCTI, o MDIC, o MDA e o MAPA são os ministérios que estão mais engajados nessa política. Nós já estamos nos articulando para desenvolvê-la. Então, serão centrais, né, esses ministérios, e com essa política nós pretendemos agregar mais valor à produção de commodities. Né, o Brasil ele é reconhecido como um grande exportador de commodities, mas nós precisamos agregar mais valor, gerar mais... E para isso nós precisamos de mais tecnologia, mais investimento, mais inovação, mais articulação. Né? E um objetivo importante é que nós possamos, de certa forma, descomoditizar nossos produtos. Tá? Então, conseguir produzir ingredientes com mais valor agregado, né, para atender principalmente a crescente demanda por alimentos plant-based pelo mundo. Então, o mundo está convergindo para plant-based, né, existe um mercado enorme crescendo, e o Brasil, nós precisamos continuar naturalmente com nossa produção e nossa exportação, mas ter também uma exportação para atender esses mercados com os ingredientes, Bia, não somente levando a matéria-prima. Né? E isso, naturalmente, gera emprego, gera renda, melhora a questão da industrialização no país. Então, uma política de proteínas alternativas ela é fundamental para que a gente possa avançar nesse assunto. Uma segunda política que já está em andamento, né, falta só a publicação do decreto, é a Política Nacional de Recursos Genéticos. Né? Nós temos programas de conservação. Então, quando nós falamos de biomassa, é uma certa simplificação de um processo que começa com o processo de prospecção daquele recurso genético, desenvolvimento de um programa de melhoramento genético, e aquele programa desenvolve uma variedade, essa variedade vai para o mercado, os produtores adotam essa tecnologia, a gente produz aquela cadeia de produção e, a partir daí, desenvolve todo o processo até chegar lá na ponta. Então, uma política, os recursos genéticos são a base para que a gente tenha uma bioeconomia avançada, para que a gente possa agregar mais valor, ter mais eficiência produtiva, né? Especialmente nas questões de adaptação a mudanças climáticas. Então, a base para a adaptação são os recursos genéticos, né? E também mitigação e tudo que está relacionado com essas questões de recursos genéticos. E esse programa ele está muito baseado também, estamos fomentando a inovação, né, para transformar os nossos recursos genéticos em bioprodutos, biomateriais, bioinsumos, bioenergia. Então, essa estratégia é um tema que é bastante novo, Bia, que nós estamos organizando as redes também. Então, se vocês me perguntarem hoje qual é a base de recurso genético que o Brasil tem, eu não vou conseguir te responder. Tá? Porque nós não temos isso estruturado, e não é muito simples, porque os recursos genéticos estão em bancos de germoplasmas espalhados pelas universidades, institutos de pesquisa. E a primeira iniciativa é a organização da plataforma, que nós vamos ter vamos buscar todos esses bancos de germoplasma, tanto para a conservação ex situ, como a conservação também on-farm, né, nas povos e comunidades tradicionais que têm os seus bancos de sementes. Então, nós precisamos mapear e ter tudo isso catalogado para entender qual que é o nosso potencial, né, e, a partir daí, dar o direcionamento para a inovação. E vamos também organizar a rede dos atores de inovação. Então, essa plataforma, ministra Claudia Müller, é uma oportunidade, porque ela é uma plataforma virtual. Então, nós já começamos com os micro-organismos, então já temos 150 coleções de micro-organismos dentro da plataforma, fazendo essa articulação, e nós vamos trazer os outros atores de inovação. Nós realmente gostaríamos de colocar a oportunidade dentro da cooperação bilateral de ter essa interação com a Alemanha para que as informações e as possibilidades de inovação entre a estrutura brasileira e alemã possa acontecer, porque, claro, que pelo distanciamento, o fato da gente desenvolver uma plataforma virtual ajuda na conexão entre os pesquisadores, da conexão entre as possibilidades de parcerias bilaterais, né, inclusive entre empresas, entre investidores, aceleradoras, startups, etc. Então, eu trago essas informações e quero agradecer mais uma vez aqui a oportunidade, fechar aqui no tempo certo, e estamos à disposição para colaborar com a cooperação e fazer com que ela continue forte, ano após ano. O Ministério da Agricultura está, então, à disposição para o desenvolvimento. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you very much for rounding up the picture here of the scene in Brazil, and I think it becomes quite clear that we must collaborate, that actually we're dealing with the same issues. Of course, the challenges we're dealing with are global, and we're looking for the same instruments. You're working on 2 missions. We're developing measurements to implement our bioeconomy strategy. It's the first parallel thing. I'm really looking forward to exchanging experience and ideas about that. You're working with nets, redes. My Portuguese is terrible, I'm sorry. But we're working with clusters. So the idea is very much the same. So I think it becomes quite clear that we're the right partners to collaborate, to talk about. And I hope this first block here was able to show a little bit where both countries stand. We have a very mixed, very international audience today. And I hope this block helped to foster the mutual understanding where we stand, what our ambitions are, what our goals are. And we're now coming, as promised, to the part of what we are actually doing already in the framework of the cooperation. And I would like to invite the president of the Julius Kühn Institute, which is the German Federal Research Institute for Cultivated Plants, Professor Dr. Frank Ordon, to the scene to tell us a little bit about what his organization, which is under the portfolio of the Agriculture Ministry in Germany, is already doing. Frank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, TILMAN, thanks a lot. But do we have a pointer and a remote control available? As you promised, this would be very nice. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And at first, I'd like to thank the organizers and especially Bia very much for the invitation to talk here today about bioeconomy collaboration in the frame of GreenRio. Now it's only, it works. Yeah, as we all know, our planet is under pressure. In 2000, is it okay? No. So maybe now. So as we all know, our planet is under pressure. In 2050, we have to fight 10 billion people, and this in the background of climate change and the loss of biodiversity, as well as crisis, actually the Ukrainian war. And before this background, our aim is supplying high-quality food to the world population, providing suitable feed, and the topic of today, bio-based raw materials. We have to protect our natural resources, soil, water, air, by minimizing risk and negative effects on the environment. For example, in this respect, the farm-to-fork strategy within the Green Deal of the EU asked for a 50% reduction of pesticides up to 2030, a 20% reduction of mineral fertilizers, and expanding the ecological grown area to 25%, in Germany even to 30%. We have to preserve and promote biodiversity in the agricultural landscape, and as already mentioned, we have to adapt cultivation to climate change. And to cope with these goals, JKI, where I come from, conducts research along the production chain within the agro-ecosystems. When we have a look at the plant production function, the productivity or the yield is the result of the yieldability of the genotype and its interaction with the environment and management options. And along this production chain, JKI conducts research the next slide, please. Yeah, with the mission of developing resource-conserving, economically viable, and socially acceptable crop production systems against the background of climate change. And to achieve this, we ask ourselves 3 questions. What do these resource-conserving, high-performance and economically viable crop production systems of the future look like? And how can these be adapted to climate change and negative external effects be avoided in the future? How can the broadest possible diversity of crop species with well-supplied, healthy plants be ensured in these crop production systems? And how can such crop production systems be dynamically adapted to societal conditions? For example, in Europe, the trend to vegan or vegetarian food. And how can we provide raw materials for the future bio-based economy? Next slide, please. Yeah, this one okay. So, yeah, as you all know, and we've heard today from all the speakers on the podium here, bioeconomy offers the opportunity to make the economy more sustainable and in harmony with nature conservation and environmental production. At the heart of the bioeconomy is the production and use of biological resources to provide products, processes, and services in all economic sectors, and in doing so, the bioeconomy relies on the potential of plants, animal, and microorganisms, as all this is stated by the German Bioeconomy Council. Yeah, in this sense, JKI conducts research on bioeconomy focusing on plants and microorganisms. The aim of JKI's research is the sustainable production and efficient cycle-oriented use of biogenic raw materials while preserving soil fertility, protecting the environment, and maintaining or increasing biodiversity. Crops are analyzed with regard to the type and content of quality determining ingredients, active ingredient yield, energy content, their ability to be integrated in sustainable cultivation systems, and the possibility of environmentally sound plant protection. This is especially true for new or neglected species and their integration into existing crop rotations. Cascade use or new utilization options for reduce or co-products are examined. Yeah, and now let me give you some examples of such projects which are conducted at JKI. For example, those related to active ingredients. And there is one project, Biodiversity as Resource for the Development of Microbial-Based Insecticides in Sustainable Agriculture and Forestry. And this project was conducted together with São Paulo State University School of Agriculture, and the objective was to provide fundamental information on the functional biodiversity of entomopathogenic fungi, which is very much in relation that we have to, let's say 50% of the synthetic pesticides. And I don't want to go into detail here. Let's say we identified such fungi, we established their cultivation conditions, and tested them for their, whether they are effective by testing them against the codling moth, and this is a good basis for biological plant production products. And the next slide, please. Yeah, this does not work anymore here. The next slide, please. Is it possible? Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. And also in this respect, we are doing work on antifungal phytochemicals. Let's say the leaves are a byproduct of licorice root production, and it was shown that ethanolic extract of these licorice leaves are efficient against downy mildew and cucumber and late blight in tomato. But however, we did not know which ingredients are the ones which are really effective. And by analyzing these ethanolic extracts, there were two components found here named as F6 and F66, which reduce the growth of Fusarium graminearum and may be used as a fungicide in the future. And the next slide, please. Yeah, now let's come to projects related to new crops for the bioeconomy. And the next slide. Yeah, one of these crops is the fiber nettle, which is a high-value multi-use plant. There's Otica dioica is present all around the world, and by breeding there was a variety developed which has an increased fiber content. And this is an environmentally very sustainable crop. It's a perennial crop. It has a wide range of growing conditions, including land unsuitable for food production, which is important, as Claudia Müller already mentioned. We have a low pesticide and fertilizer requirement. It can be used for the restoration of marginal land, soil improvement, and carbon sequestration, and it promotes the entomofauna. And what's important, these fibers may be used as the replacement of fossil fuel-derived or resource-intensive raw materials like synthetic fibers or peat. And the next slide, please. Yeah, let's now come to projects to genetic improvement. And the next slide. Yeah. There is a collaboration with a few crews here on jaborandi. Jaborandi, the ingredient is pilocarpine, which is used against glaucoma. And let's say the challenges are still, it's also available in commercial products, as you can see. Harvest is possible only during the dry season. There are quality losses. There are varying concentrations of pilocarpine, which is really important. It's a matter of breeding in the future. And so the research questions are, can jaborandi plantations, are they possible to optimize post-harvest management and genetic studies on the content of jaborandi populations present here in Brazil? And in the end, to ensure a stable and high concentrations of pilocarpine. And Frank, I think discussions about this project together with a few crews will go on during this GreenRio meeting. And the next slide, please. Yeah, which projects are in preparation? And the next slide. Yeah, we heard Bia mentioned Embrapa quite often in her introduction, and let's say I met Embrapa people when I was here for 2 months ago, and I'm happy to see them again here. And with Umberto, we had a project improving public access to sustainable and ecosystem-friendly raw material sources of Alecrim pimenta. And this is a model approach, and we heard about genetic diversity and germplasm banks just in the last talk. It's a model approach for conservation of wild populations of this species' genetic resources and the development of sustainable raw material productive change at smallholder level. And it's a collaboration between JKI, the Institute for Breeding Research and Horticultural Crops, whose head, Frank Marte, is sitting here in the audience, and 2 Embrapa parts. It's food technology and genetic resources and biotechnology, and we look very much forward to start this project soon. And now the last slide, or the second last slide. Yeah, coming to an end, I hope that these examples demonstrate that bio-based materials harbor a huge potential for promoting sustainable bioeconomy. Prerequisites are entire value chain must be kept in mind, appropriate technology must be available or of course developed, approaches must be ecologically and economically sound or beneficial, and as an outlook, there's a development and optimization of common concepts for bioeconomy of the future. Even though often concepts derive from regional needs, basic ideas are applicable worldwide. And so in the end, joining forces between Brazil and Germany, therefore, is a logical consequence, and I hope Some of these examples have already elucidated this, and with this, I hope for a fruitful collaboration in the future, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Frank, for this very nice presentation with a lot of content, actually. So you see, as I said, the cooperation is fruitful. We have projects ongoing. The Julius Kühn Institute, the Federal Research Center for Cultivated Plants in Germany, found a lot of partners here. Among them, of course, MAPA, which would be the natural partner, since they are under the Agriculture Ministry here in Brazil. We're coming now to the next block of presentation, the next thematic block of our event today, that needs a little bit of framing. So, as you know, we, on the ministerial level, wanted to foster the cooperation between Germany and Brazil, especially in the research area as well. And therefore, we put our heads together. We worked very soon. We agreed on what we wanted to promote. What was not so easy was how to promote it, how to really get projects on the road. So we decided to put a task force to work on how actually to promote German-Brazilian bilateral research cooperations and how to be able to fund them, because money is usually one of the key players in the whole game. And we were able to come up with an administrative solution to fund bilaterally with money from both Germany and Brazil research projects. We launched 2 calls at GreenRio. I think it was it 4 years ago? Was it 3 years ago? In 2020, yeah. Bia is like my external hard drive, you know? She remembers everything. Well, in 2020, the steering committee launched 2 research calls, which were funded bilaterally from money from Brazil and Germany. Both countries put around 2 million euros to fund research projects in 2 different areas. The first area was on medicinal plants, and the second area was on industrial use of biomass. Today we would like to present you 2 projects of each of these calls, and we will start with the projects on medicinal plants. We will hear about the native plant Inno project by Professor Rinklebe from the University of Wuppertal, who will give us a short insight on the project. The projects are all running. They're not I think they're running for about 1.5 years. So what you will get now are insights of running projects and some preliminary findings already. Professor Rinklebe is joining us online. I hope we can get him on the screen here. We're looking for Professor Rinklebe. Not here? Okay, not here. Well, he just wrote me he was here. Then let's start with the second project we have in the medicinal plants and see if we can get Professor Rinklebe in afterwards. The second project is Agro Alliance, and now we're really taking this hybrid format to the maximum, because we have both. We have a person, Professor Eisner, who will be here to answer your questions. I will invite you, Professor Eisner, to the table already. Please join us here. And online, we have Dr. Hilger from the University of Hohenheim, and I hope we can get him on the screen. And, well, Yeah, Professor Eisner, maybe you want to introduce already. You can. Oh no, I'm getting the sign there. We have people online. Actually, we seem to have Dr. Hilgner here online.
Okay, so I take this. I will talk.
Okay, here we go. Dr. Hilger, we see you already. We do not hear you yet. You might be muted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Go ahead. Welcome.
So, do I share my screen for the presentation, or will it be presented by you in Rio?
Please share your screen.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. So, yeah, let me start with our project. First of all, bom dia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be part of the GreenRio conference again. And I would like to share our vision on the sustainable use of local biodiversity in bioeconomy. Peter Eisner and myself will introduce you to the AgroAlliance project. I understood that we will share it. I will start with the first part, and then Peter Eisner will continue. These are two people of the whole project. As you see, there's a lot of people involved in this project, from 3 Brazilian research institutions and 2 German institutions. You see the names of them on the ground. Because now time is advancing, I need to get to the next slide. Let me start with the background of the project. Biodiversity, its preservation and sustainable use for a circular bio-based economy is a crucial aspect in the context of socio-ecological challenges. Agrocomia, or Macaúba as it is named in Brazil, is a versatile multi-purpose palm species that is endemic to the Americas and has a high oil productivity. It easily adapts to a wide range of environments outside of tropical rainforests, and it even grows under drier and poor environmental conditions. It is thus an interesting feedstock and a promising source for oils, proteins, fibers, and materials for the bioeconomy, in addition to supporting ecosystem services. Therefore, it can be seen as a sustainable alternative to palm oil. So I have to move to my next slide. Our goal is to develop high-value refined oils, proteins, and dairy fibers from Agrocomia. However, it's also aiming at addressing major gaps for the development of a sustainable Agrocomia value web. This is based on 7 pillars, among them the development of superior Agrocomia planting material, identification of best agricultural practices for Agrocomia cropping, the development of a post-harvest concept for complete exploitation of Agrocomia fruit fractions. Also, we are looking at the development of technologies to obtain high-value oils, dietary fibers, and proteins for industry partners, and provision of oil, protein, fibers for mapping potential applications. We also will provide a proof of the technical feasibility of the biorefinery concept, which will be developed within AgroAlliance. The development of scenarios for value web design and context-specific strategy for value web are also other important point of our work. And finally, the development of an exploitation plan and implementation of an Agrocomia modeling platform that can be used to test opportunities. All this is an example for how to handle biodiversity and interesting crops or species within that sector, particularly when we look at neglected crops, which have a high potential to solve some of our problems we are facing at the moment in our world. Our approach is a value web approach, and it goes all along the value chain. And apart from the analysis of this value web or chain, we have then also planting material which needs to be developed, the cultivation systems, and here particularly the best practice, but also processing and biorefining of this material, and also the product development. You can see that there is expertise and competence from spread very well along the Brazilian and German partners in this part, and we have a lot of complementarity, which is, I think, also an add-on which allows us to achieve our goal. Apart from the project partners, we have also external partners which are spread over agriculture, but also industry partners. And here we have also a distribution of partners in Brazil and also in Germany. However, most of the work which goes also in direction of the food sector, that is based in Brazil, where cosmetic industry and so on is based in Germany. The project structure is that we have a central work package. This is work package 6, which looks at the value web analysis and implementation strategies. But all the other work packages, for example, development of planting material, evaluation of cropping systems, post-harvest storage and pre-processing, as well as the product development and the decentralized biorefinery concept, they are working for this work package 6 and providing information, so that at the end there is also an analysis possible and an idea available how sustainable the different options we may have within agro lines to produce this material. And this is then the entry point for the work package 7, which goes into the dissemination and communication and also exploitation of project results. And finally, in work package 8, we have the coordination of the project. If we look at the different partners, then we have the Federal University of Viçosa, and the main tasks and roles of the UFV are evaluation of the elite Agrocomia progenies, and they are established already on an experimental area in Araponga, that's in Minas Gerais. And here we started already the negative selection of plants to establish an orchard with the first generation of improved Agrocomia seeds. Also, there is an analysis of genetic diversity, genetic vulnerability of the material we have, and the effectiveness of fruiting of this species ongoing, and data are already available. This is entry point for work package 2, but I also have to say that part of this work is also carried out at the EIC in Campinas. However, here in Viçosa we have an overview of of a lot of material which was collected by Sergio Motoiker from all over Brazil, while in Campinas we have a concentration on material which originates from the Sao Paulo state, and we have also differences in terms of the species that are collected and monitored in these two institutions. We also characterize soil changes under Agrocomia cultivation. This is part of work package 2, and UFV also compiled data sets of Agrocomia-based cropping systems. This is entry points, this is entry material for the modeling approach we are following up here in AgroLines. We have also the influence of physical and chemical methods on the quality of Agrocomia fruit fractions in work package 3, where the Federal University of Viçosa is participating, and this is in cooperation with the Fraunhofer Institute IWV in Germany. In terms of activities of my university, the University of Hohenheim, we are mainly involved in the training of using the water nutrient light capture in agroforestry systems model. And here we have started the training. This is what you see on the right side. in the upper part, including some first scenarios we did on using this model for both African oil palm, but also Agrocomia. And this allows us also to see the advantages and disadvantages of using these species. Here we are working now on the parameterization and calibration and also on the validation of the model, and this allows us later to develop and test and evaluate different Agrocomia-based cropping scenarios. All this is done together with the Federal University in Viçosa, but also with IAC in Campinas. And this will lead to the identification of best Agrocomia cropping practices. And here we are not already started with that. This depends on the further development of ranulcas. We have also started visits to startups promoting the cultivation of Agrocomia in Brazil, and also to various cultivation sites where farmers are already working on Agrocomia and producing Agrocomia. We are also able to know a little bit more about actors along the Agrocomia value chain, and we will develop later on based on the first studies that are conducted on these identification of value chain scenarios, and then this helps us to develop outgoing schemes with smallholders, but also on large-scale plantation or decentralized and centralized processing of the material, and also a vertical integration of the value chain. Some images on that are shown in the lower part on the right side. With this, I would hand over to Peter to present then also the results or the work in the other work packages, which are mainly under the umbrella of ETAL and also EAC, and finally Fraunhofer Institute. Peter, if you like, I can move on with the presentation if you provide me with the information. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Yes, I like that you continue to present. I will let you know when to change the slides. Yeah, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Also from my side, it's a big pleasure to be here. Thank you very much to BIA mainly to invite us, and we are in close contact about Macaúba, so you already know what is going on here. So for this reason, thank you very much for the invitation. I do not want to speak too long. Unfortunately, there is no clock running down, so I'm very happy. Maybe I have 2 minutes more time. As Thomas already mentioned, this is a team consisting of many research institutions, and it is really, really nice to see how it works together. So even on the other side, the Brazilian groups are working mainly on the agricultural side, of course, because Macaúba is growing in Brazil and not in Germany. And on the other side, Thomas, as he mentioned, is doing some modeling activities, and we are doing the processing in the end. So we would like to fractionize the Macaúba fruits in different kind of fractions and use them for technical and food applications in the end to create a market. Because the challenge what we are facing, of course, is we have to create a new value chain that does not exist nowadays. So we do not know what to plant, we do not know how to plant, we do not know what to do, we do not know how to fractionize, and we do not know what will be the final products. So we have no pushing, we have no pulling in the value chain. It's a great challenge. Please, next slide. No, this is already the slide, Thomas. I think you were too quick. Maybe one slide back to the work of ERC. The reason why I'm talking about ERC, we have a project center from the Fraunhofer side in Campinas, so we are working very closely since more than 10 years together with ITAU and ERC. So Thomas and me, we decided that I will talk about a little bit about what Carlos Colombo and his group are doing at ERC in the moment. So they are looking for which kind of selected material can be used and how to prevent that the reduction of genetic diversity is creating problems for the future, because we select big fruits, we select high oil fruits, we select everything, and you know then the diversity is getting smaller and smaller, and Carlos is looking how to prevent that there will be maybe a vulnerability in the future concerning pests, as an example. So he's looking on this topic. He's also looking on the reasons why some plants are producing a lot of fruits and other plants are doing not. And this is a lot of investigation done by this. The soil quality, we already had this. That is also done in Viçosa. A lot of these things are going a little bit hand in hand. And in the end, of course, Carlos Colomba and his team are delivering the fruits for the post-harvest, what we are doing. So next slide, please. This is the activity going on at IVV in Germany, or also in Campinas, in our project center, together with our partners. So the idea is now, when we got the fruits from the trees, how to process them to have all fractions in a high quality so that it can be used for foods. Because normally you press only the fruits, then you have some press residues that are dark, that are tasting not well, you cannot use in food applications. So to use them in a food application, we have to treat them very gentle. So we have to look what to do that we have a high functional protein, high functional fiber in the end. And this is the work we are doing at Fraunhofer. Together with industry, we are defining applications. So it is a mayonnaise, it's an ice cream, it's a film for polymer packaging, whatever. So there is a lot of opportunities, and we are in a close contact with industry partners that they can make products, so that we have in the end also a pull effect from industry, that farmers are willing to grow maca uva, because maca uva cultivation is almost not existing in the moment. It's a real challenge. Alessandro, we had this discussion in the morning. It's not so easy. Next slide, please, Thomas. Then, of course, what ITAO is doing, they are focusing a little bit on the oil fraction, because the oil is very interesting. You know, palm oil is used by everybody all over the world, but palm has not a good image anymore. And for this reason, we are looking that maca uva can be the new palm tree of the future, produced in low yield areas, not in areas where we have the rainforest, in areas like Cerrado, where it is more dry and we have less water. So we can be very sustainable, producing oil in areas where we did not do this in the past. And this is the reason why Rosalie is looking how we can adjust the properties of the oil we get, and a little bit like we do it with palm oil, to get specific viscosities, to get specific properties, in a way that food industry, but also cosmetic industry or technical applications can be done with this kind of oils. Very, very promising material, the maca uva palm oil and the maca uva palm kernel oil. Next slide, Thomas, please. Yeah, of course, a lot of dissemination is done. You can see me here. You could see our maca uva activities last year on GreenRio as well. We are doing really a lot of things. Publication, we are having posters, we're traveling all over the world to make maca uva known by the people. And this is one of the reasons why I like this so much, because you have to show the people what is maca uva. In Germany, everybody asks me, what are you talking about, maca uva? What is this? And for this reason, we decided, when we found a small startup some weeks ago, to call the startup maca uva. So everybody who wants to work with these technologies can contact the company, and everybody will ask, what is your job? And then we can say, yeah, we are talking on maca uva, all the fraction, and supporting the value chain. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is already the outlook. I can summarize just 3 seconds for Santos Dumont. I like this airport very much. I think this is most exciting airport I know, so it's great to land and to start again. So, okay, so now everybody can hear what I say. So the challenge, what I already mentioned, is we have to create a new value chain. The intention for the future will be to identify the right species, to find out the right conditions for growing in a sustainable way. We are planning to do integrated agriculture systems. So there will not be any competition with other crops. It will be a combination of maca uva plantation together with other crops, or together with pasture land. So as an example, if we plant a pasture land where in the moment one cow is growing, or one cow is grassing there around, in the future, you can do it together with maca uva, and the shadow on the more fruitful land, because of the roots, you can produce 2 or 3 cows. So for the farmers, it's a big benefit. The soil quality is increasing, so we have a more fertile, stable soil. We have a better environment for other crops, and for this reason, Macaúba is bringing only benefit. So we have to create a new value chain, knowing all these benefits for the future, knowing all the potential behind this, but we have to convince along the whole value chain, the people, that this is a great approach. And I would like to end, before I go to my final slide and thank to everybody here and around, I would like to end with some numbers, because when you're talking to investors, as an example, they want to hear big numbers. What is the possibilities? We were talking, Beatriz, so we were talking about what is possible. So just think about the amount of pasture land in Brazil is around about 150 million hectares. If we would do the beneficial integrated cropping of Macaúba in this area, we could produce there the whole kerosene demand of all airlines in the world, just in Brazil. We could produce the whole protein demand in different industries all over the world. We could produce fibers, really high valuable fibers with very nice properties for the food industry and packaging industry all over the world. The total generated value, the added value coming from Macaúba, not from the animals that are produced, only from Macaúba, could reach, and this is of course not true, but this could reach $1 trillion, what is 66% of the current Brazilian GDP. I think this is a good final word to say. Thank you very much to everybody. Please come to the last slide. Thank you very much to the ministries that are funding our research. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. So let's try to get Professor Rinkleben to learn about the second project we have in the medicinal plant call. That looks already good. We see you. Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please share your screen and go ahead. Welcome.
Okay. You can hear me very well, I hope?
We can still hear you.
Can you see the screen now?
And we see your
presentation. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you for your kind introduction, and very pleasant afternoon from Germany, a very pleasant morning in Brazil. My name is Jörg Rinkleben, and I'm talking about native Brazilian plants as a source for innovative raw materials for sustainable agricultural and cosmetic use, contributing to an enhanced bioeconomy. First of all, thanks to our founders, and thank you for inviting me to talking today. And our biggest problem is to get the permissions from customs, from the plants and soil exported from Brazil and imported to Germany. So we urgently call for our help on the political scene to make this a little bit smoother. This is really a big challenge. So our project, the overall aim is to develop innovative raw materials based on Brazilian plants for the cosmetic industry that can be used economically and for a rentable product. We have 5 different partners, 3 from Brazil, 2 universities from Brazil and a company from Brazil, 2 universities from Germany, University of Wuppertal, where I am, and University of Berlin. As you can see here, here's the University of Wuppertal with my team, and University of Berlin, which is responsible for the pharmaceutical part. Our part is the agricultural expertise, nutrients, trace elements in soil, as well as in plants. So how about the structure of the project? First, we want to gain basic knowledge about biogeochemistry and agricultural knowledge. The topic, the work package of UFG is domestication and propagation of native medicinal plants and aromatic plants, and the production of secondary metabolites. And work package 2 of UNIFESP is toxicity and microbial effects of the raw materials. And our part of University of Wuppertal is nutrients and trace elements in the soil-plant interface. So this is the knowledge part, and then we move on to the application part, to the technical solutions, as well as to the applications. FOB conducting pharmacological studies, while the Life Aloe company developed photosynthetic cosmetics. So the specific objectives of the UFD are to examine the interactions between soil types, biofarming, environmental conditions, as well as plant growth and productivity, and to domesticate native medicinal plants, and also propagate at the same time the organic farming, and thirdly to characterize the chemistry compounds driven by the raw materials, and also identify new anti-agents and skin whitening agents, which can be used for the cosmetic industry. And here are some reports what the UFG already did. They designed an area for the agroforestry system implementation. There was a selection of species and preparation for the seedlings, for the transplantation, monitoring and planting of the plants, training, which is very important for a very good management practice, and those plans have been implemented already, and also initiation of efforts toward in vitro establishment of those two plants, and also conducting exploration expeditions to the Cerrado region to locate the seeds and propagate materials from those different plants. And here are some pictures to give you an insight about the different sites. Those are the chosen locations for the agroforestry implementation within the settlement. And here you can see the land demarcation, the preparation of the soil, as well as the seedlings of the plants. And here, one example of an agroforestry system 18 months after planting. So the UNIFESP has specific objectives to identify microorganisms, also to develop standardized manufacture of raw materials in the company, and also take care for good management practice and quality control. And further to investigate the raw materials quality related to the toxicity of the cells effect. And basically the aims of the UNIFESP are a good manufacturing practice training, and also take care of the microbial aspects of tinctures, crude extracts, as well as of essential oils. And we know that microorganisms could affect the human health, and here are some examples. Most probably you know those: Escherichia coli, Candida albicans, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Staphylococcus aureus, Clostridium perfringens. Those are quite common microorganisms which could affect the human health. Important is also to implement those knowledge into the practice to prevent the contamination. This is also a large part to bring it really into the practice, to disseminate the knowledge about microbial control, prevent contamination, and also talk about risk and consequences and responsible choices. For instance, to implement it to directly into the population, you also need simple methods to bring it into the practice. One method is this dreams tree, where dreams can be printed on a poster, and the expectations of the participants can leave their leaves there, and finally bring their wishes and on the right side and discuss with them, and so finally how to reach the people. And also flush microorganisms, those miniatures have the usual characteristics of microorganisms which were involved in the contamination. All this is part of the dissemination program. Finally, how to bring those results also into the practice. A good manufacturing practice manual is an aim provided by the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation. As you can see here, practical guiding for hand washing is such an aim. And now I move on to the specific objectives of our university in Wuppertal to study the cultivability of certain Brazilian plants. I will further explain later which those are, to test if they can be cultivated in German soils. And we also want to quantify the effects of the content and availability of nutrients and trace elements in the soil-plant interface. We also want to determine the nutrients and trace element contents in the soil of the Brazilian soils, and also elucidate the influence of soil properties, content, and availability for macro and micronutrients, as well as for trace element and toxic elements on the plant growth productivity in Brazilian soils which are used for the cultivation. We tested in literature studies a number of different plants which could be of interest for those different tasks. We have a methodology, but it might be a little bit boring for you. I'm available for questions if you want to know more about those details. Important is we sampled two different soils, two typical different soils in Germany, and we established 5 native Brazilian medical plants here in my greenhouse and conducted a greenhouse experiment. And this is what you can see on those pictures, the greenhouse experiment from native plants, 5 native plants in 4 replications. And we harvested those already. We were able to cultivate those plants. They grow very well under greenhouse conditions at the 2 German soils. This is what we can already say. We harvested the plants and the soil, and of course, those analyses are currently running. We are closely working together with our Berlin partners. We provided the soil and plant samples to Berlin, and they take care after the antimicrobial effects of the raw materials. They also investigate the anti-inflammatory activity of raw materials using different models, and they also investigate the secondary metabolites, which are responsible for the morphological potential, which reveal the raw materials. And they also have contact to the respective authorities and to the market and companies. A number of different plants to which I would quickly go through, such as Baccaria strimeria or Cyparunia giardendis. Some of those oils have a strong antimicrobial activity, or some of those plants show a potent anti-inflammatory activity, or here Lipia zitioides, another plant, or Piper marginatum. The anti-inflammatory activity has not been studied, which is important, but it is known that this essential oil has quite an antimicrobial activity against Escherichia coli. Some methods have been used, and there's also was conducted methodology development of new methods. I don't want to go too much in detail into the antimicrobial screening. There was also done a biofilm inhibition for certain microbial species. The quorum sensing was also conducted, and the topic of the colleagues from Berlin is also to develop screening strategies for the quality inhibition. The anti-inflammatory assay was also applied here. I don't want to go too much in detail, and the current status is the method development was further forced, and methods were established, and those establishment of methods are still particularly ongoing. Yeah, the UFG, we are working, of course, very closely together. They provide also some oils and essential material, which we can analyze in Brazil, as well as in Germany. And finally, we want to bring it into the practice to the company Live Alloy. And the specific objectives of the company is to transform the scientific knowledge which we have gained by the universities and finally bring it to cosmetic application. We also want to use nanotechnology to incorporate the raw materials in cosmetic formulations, aiming to improving the stability and efficiency, and also provide, of course, conditions for the people in the region to become a supplier for organic crops for the company. And this is what the company has already done, production and supply of seedlings, concerning vegetable processing, steam distillation, production of glycerin extracts, production of alcoholic extracts, of oily extracts, and also production of alcoholic extracts of the dry plants, according to a specific technique developed by GFG. There are also some technical and methodological details, but I guess this might be a little bit too specific for you. And finally, I would say thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Professor Rinkle from the University of Wuppertal, for your presentation on native plant Inno. There was a second project on medicinal plants we heard about now. Professor Rinkle offered to answer questions. Are there any questions in the audience? You can probably contact him via email anyways. The presentation was quite specific, so I'm sure there are researchers who are really interested in that, but might be a little bit too technical for most of us, especially for us politicians, I would say. We're coming now. Yes, there is one question, please. So, please, do we have a microphone? There's a microphone over there. No.
I would have a question with regard to the palm tree. It was mentioned that there is a huge potential in producing, and where somebody who would be interested in planting the tree could get some seeds from to develop further projects.
Thomas, do you like, shall I give some words?
I can add. Yeah, here we go. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I think this is possible, but maybe you should contact then our agriculture partner. This would be University in Viçosa or maybe IAC in Campinas. And I think this might be possible then to start with the production.
Maybe just to add to it, I think there are also some companies that started developing material. Of course, at the moment, the improved material is not available because this is still ongoing research.
There's an intervention here from MAPA.
Okay, it's working. No, just to add a little bit my technical support in terms of Brazil. Of course, I used to work for I'm from Embrapa. I'm from the used to work for Embrapa. So your question is regarding the seeds, correct? The development of the seeds. Of course, it's important, especially for macaúba. The seeds produced, but also the seedling productions. It's important. So of course there is a supply chain that needs to be structured to make all the supply. But of course for the project that the guys present here, they already have this supply chain in development, and also the universities are developing this. So it's not a big issue in terms of to develop, but of course we need investments. We need the companies that will be interested to make this supply to structure the supply of the seeds and the seedlings to make the investments and to solve these barriers. Okay, just to complement here. Okay.
Thank you very much. There's another question from the audience, please.
Posso falar em português ou preciso ser em inglês?
Okay. If I don't need to answer, please go ahead.
Ok. Eu sou Raquel Ribeiro, do Ministério do Desenvolvimento Agrário e Agricultura Familiar. Pensando na estratégia de colaboração Brasil-Alemanha, eu queria ouvir um pouco dos palestrantes e dos pesquisadores na perspectiva da relação entre os parceiros, os pesquisadores alemães, pesquisadores brasileiros envolvidos no processo, que eu acho que a gente também aprende nessa perspectiva da governança e para pensar em outras estratégias de colaboração. Obrigada.
Maybe I can start for the Agro Alliance team. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Here we had a workshop 2 or 3 years ago where we were able to invite people from all over South America and Central America, and we were talking about the possibilities with regard to using species like macaúba. And there we realized already that there's a lot of knowledge available. We already published the information on that, but we clearly see that a lot of institutions are working isolated, and some people are working in the same direction, and so we tried also to merge this information and also to bring people together from various different disciplines so that we have an advantage of different knowledge and also domains of science. And here I think our project is also aiming a lot of bringing people together which are not working normally together, and so to have some additional, let's say, effect by using this complementary expertise and also information. And we just add there where, for example, with the we can add new technologies like the modeling approach, or like Peter Eisner's group is bringing in some new technologies to identify a material. And this is something which we put into training in Brazil, so that people there have also the benefits from other ways of looking at the point. And that's, I think, the main issue if you are starting with an interdisciplinary research team. And we wanted also to spread more information to all of us. No? So we are benefiting, of course, from the activities in Brazil and the availability of biodiversity, but we are bringing in then different expertises and new knowledge, so that we are also training people with the technologies we are using here at Hohenheim, for example.
Very good. Maybe I can add from the institutional side. From the institutional side, actually, the aim of these calls was to connect scientific communities in both countries. That was, we knew that, of course, traveling and exchanging and having suitable methods for that within the project is necessary. That's why traveling costs, workshops and things like this are being funded within the project. But of course it's up to the researchers who apply for the project to design their projects in order to make them fit to their needs. Any further questions? No, we are well on time for me with my very German heart. That's nice to see. And we're coming now to the project presentations from the projects of the industrial use of biomass call. I would like to start with the biopolycol project. I would like to invite you, Professor Dr. Carlos Peta. I'm sorry. Well, just come up. I'm sorry, I mixed up the project. Hilmar is that?
Yeah, Hilmar Erzinger.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, meine Damen und Herren. Yeah. Today is very interesting for us because it's possible to talk about our project. Please, could you do me a favor to put my transparent bigger hope? Have a PDF. A second? Where? Oh, thank you very much. Yes, this project is planning to use microencapsulation to extract to fuel additional sustainable poultry production. I'm a principal in Brazil's coordinator. My name is Professor Erzinger, and together we work to Catherine Kessler from FAO in Germany. Please, the next second. Second slide, please. One more. The cooperation between my university is Santa Catarina State and the south of Brazil. The name is University Operation of Joinville. Yeah? And I work together for the Frederick Alexander Erling Nuremberg University in Bavaria. Yeah? I worked for more than 20 years ago to cooperation my group to the group from FAO. But it's a new group. I have a lot of different groups I work there. Please, and next. This is my group. Yes, my group is very big. Oh, thank you. Is that for here? Okay. I am a principal investigation. Dr. Sebastian Strauss was born in Germany, but he worked together for more than 10 years in Joinville. Professor Daniela Delvin worked for macrobiology, and Dr. Paulo França, macrobiology, is together Leslie Ferreira. Andrea Lima Schneider, industrial microbiology. Rodolfo Prates is data science. And Fernando Buquerque is our veterinary medicine. Opa, não está indo. Vamos ver se acha um. Agora. Aha. Thank you very much. And from German part, Catherine Gestion is principal investigator, Dr. Anna Becker from Bioanalysis, Dr. Holder Hubner about animal cell cultures, and Dr. Sebastian Schaub is microencapsulation. Yeah? The background. And Shamar chicken. Shamar chicken dominates meat consumption because it's very generally aphrodite, it's very low fat, they face religion and cultural barriers, and Brazil is the third country in the world to make chicken, or poultry industry. And it's the first country in the poultry export worldwide. This is the map from 2018. Brazil export more or less 26 or 25 million tons by years for all the world. Chicken farm in Brazil look like same in the United States, look like same in China. It's predominant indoor confinement and high density stocking. This is a very big problem because the chicken have a natural fauna or flora, a lot of bacteria, pathogenic bacteria, Salmonella, Shigella, E. coli, and it's very complicated from industry and from human consumption. And then in all the country use antibiotics for control DSAs because and for increased efficiency and salted wage. The name is EGP, antibiotic growth promoters. You can use antibiotic, it's possible to death in the first week, the chicken, 20 or 25%. And you use antibiotics, is 10%. And then more, minus complicated from transfer to DSAs from pathogen. Yeah? And then the idea, the project, have identification a new EGP alternative without use antibiotic. The main project. Yeah? Então, develop a novel field additional base of hope to make a decisive contribution to health and sustainable growth purpose. This shows is significant reduction in antibiotics, the pathogen alternative antibiotics growth promoters, improve the quality management and enhancement of food safety. But why hope? I have a books. You have antibiotic activity. Hope is very important activity antibiotics using beer because this not so flavor, but it's possible to don't have bacteria in beer. And beer have a lot of ingredients. It's possible to use to antifungals, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer drug. Okay, the two components important in hopes. Alpha cetoacids is more important, lupulon, and beta acids is lupulon. And then it's possible to have essential oils and a lot of polyphenols. Yeah? And this project planning to use two kinds of hope. Natural hopes. Why natural hope? Because today have a high intensity production now the world. It's possible to cultivation hopes in Brazil. A long time only in Germany, United States, Czechoslovakia, and that country. And use is important here in industry, a beer industry, because you have three wasters biomass discard. The first biomass about the grains, but it's possible to use, it's possible to use for animal food. The second is hot rub, and another is cold rub. A hot rub, the grains and the cold rub is possible because it's possible to use in animal food. But the hot rub have a 2% and percent have a 2%. It's possible to discard all the things in the environment. It have high concentration mass of hops. Yeah? And then, another discussion, make a new technology development from FAO in Germany, the microencapsulation. This is very good because it's improved the viability and active ingredients for different hope extract, prolongation, self-life, and fuel additive, improved protection against oxidation, is now accompaniment to an economic analysis possible to use or no after that. The project design in Germany. In Germany, to use in the study in vitro experiments, yes? Or the hopes, or the extract, make activity antimicrobial by class 1 microbiology, or cytotoxicity and cells, and after then microencapsulation. And chicken in vivo study made in Brazil, because Brazil have a approbation and ethical commission on animal is not a problem. Then, this cytotoxicity use LML cells online and then decide to determination DC50 or to compare tumorigenic and health cells. That's experiment inside only in Germany. Okay? In Brazil, it look like same, but use here in antimicrobial and pathogenic bacteria, class 1 and class 3, and in farm. In farm have a 4 different ambient. The first ambient have a 10 chicken and only food of poultry, and second ambient 6% of whole of poultry, and another 6% of trope or 50% of trope. And then this is the farm in Santa Catarina. This is small part. This is the chicken. Is the cultures, is a normal culture, the first time is Escherichia coli, is natural the coli, and another bacteria is the Salmonella enterotibus. Have a lot of chicken there. Thank you very much for this moment. I'm speaking very quickly, but the time is...
We're quick. Maybe you want to answer some questions? No? Are there any questions immediately, since we have some time left? No? You can think about the questions and put them later on anyways. So, now we're coming to your presentation. So, I'm sorry to mix up drawing. We're coming now to the second project from the course of the industrial use of biomass. Please introduce yourself and your project.
Thank you. The acronym of this project is Biopolycol, development of Amazonian biodyes from renewable resources for industrial coloration of biopolymers. Please, the next one. Sorry. Let's go again. Here the summary of the presentation. I will start by the main goal of the project. After the team and partners, the results until now, we are finishing the first year of this project and the challenges we have in front of us. The main goal is to create sustainable Amazonian dye solutions for the industry and trying to have as a positive effect on the locals in Amazonia. Team and partners, I asked the permission to nominate the people, okay? But because it's all about people finally. We have two main actors that are the company named Beplast, a Brazilian company, and ITA, it's a research center of the University of Aachen. Beplast, the technical director, is completely involved in the project. And with their team, César Didó, Eduardo Basso, Letícia, Reis, and Velho. César Didó is here with us. It was a researcher at the university in the beginning of the project. Now is someone from the company. The company took him to develop inside the company the contract. In ITA, we have her professor Thomas Gries and Dr. Roshan Paul as the champion, designated by them, and Leonie Yanis, that he stayed here some time in Brazil during this project in the first year, and Henning Lochen. And in our university, Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul, myself and colleagues Eder Lima and Dilson from Chemical Institute, and Carlos Peixoto and Ítalo Gonçalves working on colorimetry. And we have INPA with Dr. Francisca and Dr. Jaime Aguiar. It's a very important partner in this project. And finally, Bache Innovative is a German company that makes part of this joint venture with Tornen Bache himself, with Hermann Korschev and Daphne Strauss-Schaffer. I would like to thank the agencies that are funding this project, FINEP and MCTI, and FNR and Jülich from the German side. Thank you deeply about your support. Now we're speaking about the role of each agent or each cooperative institution, starting by INPA, where they are doing the physical extraction or different fruits and in Amazonia. We have the Federal University in Rio Grande do Sul working with two main parts. One is the chemical extraction and encapsulation of the colorants, and the other is applied colorimetry itself. We have Beplast, the Brazilian company. It's a leader in the market for master batch. Master batch is a concentrate of additives and colorants that are after injected in the plastics to have the final products, to give the color and some properties. They work from agriculture to automaking in terms of plastics, and the main focus in this project is to have natural dyes for the master batches made by this company. Their role: requirements definition, encapsulation process, benchmarking validation, extrusion and injection of the master batches in biopolymers. I will come back to that in some slides. The university working applied colorimetry. That's when we work with color, we need to be very worried about matching color. And we have some physical models and mathematical models we are working with. Here the ITA in the German side. ITA is a very known institute for textile technology in Europe. They are inside the Aachen University, a long-time partner in Brazil in terms of research. And their role will be to escalate the raw material developed by INPA and URGS and Beplast. We have Bache Innovative, is a company that works with sportswear, sports clothes, and tennis shoes. And the role in the project will be the fabric that is used in the upper part of the tennis shoes, and the sole will be developed by Beplast here in Brazil. The results until now, we have many targets with INPA, and as I told you, INPA is doing the physical extraction, and we are doing the chemical extraction and encapsulation. Why encapsulate? Because we'll be in a system that works in high temperature. You'll see the next slide about that. And we need to try to provide the stabilization of the colorants on the material. We are doing a lot of characterization of the results and doing incorporation and biopolymers, two types of biopolymers. The polymers that come from renewable resources, EVA and polyethylene. And the third one, PLA, is a biodegradable polymer. Here, in Germany, our colleagues are working with wires. They are spinning composites with different ingredients in terms of color. You can see the results for açaí in the natural state. And you can see for PLA, for example, the temperature where PLA is workable is between 200 and 300 Celsius degrees. And you can see the degradation of the natural pigment or not natural colorant. But when you have this encapsulation, this protection with a shell of silica, you can see the good stability, but at the same time, the side effect that you have very desaturated colors. It's something that we are facing now to solve with César Gidó hard work on that. After this part of development of the colorants, we are doing spinning with that in different concentrations to arrive, after to be ready to do the fabric for the tennis shoes and for the sport clothes. Some challenges we can see in front of us. Here in the upper part, you can see internally our strengths and our weaknesses, and in the bottom part, the opportunities we can see and the threats we can see outside our research. In terms of strengths, we have a nice group with good knowledge in terms of Amazonian fruits, with INPA, soil gel techniques and plastic dyes and textiles with the companies involved, and fabrics for athletic footwear with this German company named Bache, and apply colorimetry. I am work on that, but I can assure you that we can do that. But we have weaknesses that we can see easily. We are in ramp-up phases of knowledge in terms of natural dyes. We are trying our best in terms of protection of these dyes with this shell I told you. We are using until now a silica shell to try to give thermal stability to the colorants. And there are some fruits that we have no idea yet about the supply chain, how it will work. In terms of opportunities, we are seeing that standing forest is the big point here, and the biodiversity that it can bring to the forest. And we can see also some targets with huge potential like Buriti is everywhere in Amazonia and very subutilized. In the other side, we have some of them, like açaí, we are testing, that the supply chain is complete, okay? I was talking the other day with a colleague in France. They can take their breakfast in a small city in France with açaí, buying in the shopping nearby. Açaí is everywhere today. But there is a treat about that. In terms of colors, as I show you, we are working with the saturated colors when we put this shell, okay? And this pastel color is not well accepted yet in the market, okay? Areas, we can see that the monoculture of something in a huge amount has a huge impact. And we can see with açaí, it's a good example of loss of biodiversity in some regions because it's açaí, açaí, açaí. Okay, it's a monoculture in some parts. And the risks that the commoditization brings needs to be a part of this equation. The upcoming objectives in the first year, we are very advanced in biodye extraction for encapsulation. After we will have our polymers to be able to do the fabric with that and finish, I hope so, to finish with prototypes of tennis shoes and clothes to show to the community, okay? I'd like to thank you for your attention, and we are here for easy questions I can do, tricky questions. Our main researcher, Cesar, is here, okay? Thank you very much.
Well, thanks again, Professor Petter. That was the second project we wanted to show you from the call of industrial biomass use. We're now coming to a different kind of project. I would like to invite Professor Thomas Dietz from the University of Münster to present the work he is doing. This project is a little bit different from the setting of the other project because Professor Dietz is leading a young researchers group studying not only the situation in Germany and Brazil, but focusing on a comparative research between Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. So we're widening a little bit up the focus, but please present your research yourself.
Yeah, thank you, TILMAN, for the kind introduction, and also thanks to the organizers for this wonderful event, which I'm attending for the first time. And yeah, my goal today is to give you an overview, to present a research group entitled Transformation and Sustainability Governance in South American Bioeconomy. So we are not doing natural science, we're not doing agroeconomics, we are looking at bioeconomy from a legal side, from the political science side, and I hope you will understand that this is also something that we need to think about carefully if we want to develop a sustainable bioeconomy. Yeah, we are thankful also to the Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture, who together with the FNR funds this project, and the main partners here is the University of Münster, the Institute of Political Science, and the Center for Development Research at the University of Bonn. So we all talk about bioeconomy here, and I think it's the word that is mentioned all the time throughout all presentations. But I think maybe sometimes it's good also to start with a definition and what do we understand as the bioeconomy. And so this this definition really reflects the broad societal potential of the bioeconomy, and we define it as a sustainable production, utilization, and conservation of biological resources encompassing knowledge, science, technology, and innovation to deliver sustainable solutions across all economic sectors and facilitate a transition to a sustainable bioeconomy. So we really put here the bioeconomy in the center of a broader development and a broader sustainable development. We heard this throughout the day. The bioeconomy has a lot of potential to contribute to various sustainability goals. I don't have to repeat this. It can help to mitigate climate change. It can help to improve food security. It can help to foster economic growth, create new jobs, new value chains, opportunities. So there's a huge potential. We heard this all around. But of course, there are also risks with bioeconomy development, potential for conflicts, and the bioeconomy has to make sure that the demand for biomass resources is met, but this can also lead to trade-offs, to conflicts over land, water, biodiversity. The bioeconomy, and we heard this yesterday a lot also from the Brazilian side, has to promote inclusivity. It has to narrow social and economic inequalities if it wants to be sustainable in the long term, and it also needs to include all stakeholders, also small-scale farmers, to be a comprehensive societal project. So what's important now is, if we want to achieve these goals, of course we need all this innovations that we heard, the new plants, the new possibilities in medicine, the new applications in bioengineering. This is the center. This is driving the whole bioeconomy. But we also need governance to make sure that this is going into the right direction, and this is starting off anyways if the investments are missing. And we define governance. Governance involves the setting of the rules and frameworks and the strategies that guide a sustainable and responsible use of biological resources. And we differentiate between two types of governance. One is enabling governance, and this is really support by governments for the bioeconomy to promote investments, to think about pathways of how we can reduce reduction costs for new products, so really helping the bioeconomy to take off. And then, if it takes off, we sometimes face rebound effects or other adversarial effects we don't want to see, and then we need regulations that constrain the bioeconomy and make sure that it works in line with broader societal goals. And this is that politics and governments worldwide, they have for a long time now acknowledged this broad need of governance for a sustainable bioeconomy. And what you here see is a map of countries that have dedicated bioeconomy policies or bioeconomy related strategies, where they try to conceptualize and think about the emergence of a sustainable bioeconomy. So bioeconomy governance is nothing that we just made up or so, but it's a real central issue of politics worldwide. And this is only if we look at the time from 2020 to 2023, where we see dynamic developments in bioeconomy strategy development. And you see that major players here, including China, the US, Australia, also Brasilia now. We heard about yesterday the efforts to develop a new common strategy across 5 or 6 ministries. So this is only covering change over 3 years with all the colors that you see. And I don't go into details here, but I just want you to understand that it's a very dynamic political field, and very many countries worldwide are working and improving their bioeconomy strategies. So, and if we would like to summarize all the strategy developments, I can see at the moment 2 different ideas that are not mutually exclusive of the bioeconomy. And the one is, we really see a bioeconomy 4.0 evolving, an advanced bioeconomy using artificial intelligence, combining it with bioengineering, microbiology to really develop an advanced bioeconomy that is based on innovations and that wants to improve and increase biomass production as efficiently as possible. And then we have another model which is also playing a crucial role at the moment. If we look at governance of the bioeconomy, what are governments pushing worldwide, is the circular economy model. And this is more a model that tries to aims to optimize existing resources, involves the cascading utilization of bio-based materials, and tries to integrate the whole value chain into circular economy models. So both models are not mutually exclusive, as I said, they go together, but I think this is the way forward at the moment if we look at governmental strategies worldwide. Okay, now the project SABIO of course has a strong focus, so this was the broader view what's happening around the world, and now we dig deeper into 3 bioeconomies in Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, and this is actually the outline of the SABIO project, and the aim is to provide systematic and knowledge-based support for the political and economic governance of bioeconomic transformations in South America, as I said, with a focus on Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. It's a junior research group from 2 universities, Bonn and Münster. I'll show you the people involved in the next slide. And it's a comparative and really interdisciplinary approach at the intersection of agricultural economics and political science. So, and this is the group here. I think you know, or some of you may know 2 of the people, and this is Jan Berner and George Cicelaro of the left side. From the CEF side, they were here last year presenting parts of the project. And I don't go through all names now, but what is important to understand is that this group contains or includes people from Germany, from Brazil, from Uruguay, from Argentina. So it's a group that really integrates researchers on all levels across the 3 or 4 countries that we are working with. Okay, and it's not only a research project, but right from the beginning, the aim was building partnerships and collaborations into the region and across Germany and Latin America. And here I show you just some events that we have been luckily, well, we could take place, or we could organize after the COVID pandemic finally ended, because of course this was a setback in the beginning of the project. This is showing the research group leader, Karen Siegel, while she is at the University of Universidad Nacional de Córdoba in Argentina. This is a workshop we organized at the University of the Universidad de la República in Uruguay. This is, of course, here Jan Berner and Georgie presenting the project last year here at the GreenRio. And just because we are now here in Brazil, this gives you an understanding of one of our doctoral students, Guilherme Stein, who was also here last year. It's hard to read because it's a bit too narrow, but it just gives you an impression of how many contacts we established here with the Brazilian government, with researchers, with private companies, who we all try to involve in our research. Okay, so very basic, what are the overarching research questions for this project? So we want to understand the conditions under which the bioeconomy can contribute to sustainable development. We want to understand what are the most effective governance mechanisms for promoting and regulating sustainable transformations, and we want to understand the effects of different policies to help governments, ministries to tailor their own strategies here in the countries to reach the best results. And now to make this a little bit more concrete, we have this publication, Environmental Policy Integration in a Newly Established Research-Based Sector, the Role of Advocacy Coalitions and Contrasting Conceptions of Sustainability. What is this about? We all know, and we have heard it a couple of times here, when we talk about bioeconomy policies, conflicting interests will always come up. Conflicts between nature, conflicts between economic interests, conflicts between different groups of people in society. This is a normal situation in politics. At the moment, we all have to make sure that this dividing interests don't get too ideologic, and we cannot find any solutions that brings us together and that help us to develop a comprehensive and sustainable bioeconomy. And one way is to better understand how policy integration is possible. How can we bring together different conflicts, different interests in a sound political process and bring people together and find common solutions? And that's what we studied here for the forestry sector in Uruguay, where we had different coalitions, different coalition networks driving different policies. One more interested in an economic use of forests in Uruguay, others having a kind of concerns with environmental questions, social questions. But in Uruguay, we saw that this coalition started to talk to each other. There were formats created to bring people together so that in the end, a very productive governance structure for the Uruguayan forestry sector was developed. And I think it's important for all of us here that we study those solutions, that we study these processes to get a better understanding of how we can come together to develop policies that are for the best of all. Yeah? A different publication here, looking at two perspectives on the concept of bioeconomy, tries to understand how we can bring together biodiversity and the bioeconomy. Of course, we have this established model where we say, okay, we know the problem if monocultures expand into natural habitats, and then we can make protected areas, we can make regulations to prohibit this. This is really one effective way. But there's also another model, and this is has also been addressed yesterday by the Brazilian ministries. It's the concept of socio-biodiversity. Yeah? Not to say nothing is possible, but to say you can use the resources, you can work here, but it has to be in a kind of sustainable way that brings together society and nature. And this model, how it works, how it can be conceptualized, is part of this publication. Yeah? It's again, we have to find solutions to build bridges and to develop bioeconomy policies that are there for all. And who is interested in these questions, and I'm really not an absolute expert here. This is Guilherme de Queiroz Stein. He's one of the PhD students in the project, and he is working with these questions on governing biodiversity in Brazil and finding ways to make it inclusive and equitable for all stakeholders. And he has the three questions that specifically focusing on the access and benefiting system in Brazil, because this is another law, another governance mechanism that really tries to bring together the need for innovation and research, and also the concerns of indigenous communities. And if you're interested and these questions seem of interest to you, then I'm more than happy to bring you in contact with Guy, how we call him, and he will give you further guidance. Okay, the last publication that comes out of the project, or came out of the project this year, I want to present to you is, in the end, we need to establish both national and international frameworks that are effective, that help the bioeconomy to thrive, but that also make sure that it is in line with broader societal concerns. And we conducted a broader expert service here of how this can be done, where are the biggest governance gaps, what should really be addressed by governments worldwide. And this is my last slide. And if you see what are the most important governance gaps here worldwide, we see it's a lack of harmonization, of policy harmonization and coordination. So it's really an all of government effort. We need to build bioeconomy policies across different ministries. They have to be coordinated. They have to go in the same direction to make the bioeconomy thriving. And I think this is something we also heard today in presentations. We have all these brilliant ideas. Is it Macaúba? Is it medical plants, bioplastics, biopolymers? But then, where is the capital? Where is where's the financial means to drive this and to bring this up and to upscale it? This is another central concern of the bioeconomy that we need to solve over the next years, because it needs investments. And bringing these together, the societal perspective and the investments, is an all-of-government approach, and our goal is to understand under what conditions these sound bioeconomy policies can strive and can help to develop a sustainable bioeconomy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. Do you have any questions before Thomas leaves? No. Sorry. Well, thank you very much. That was actually the last project we wanted to present you today. So I would like to thank all the presenters today. Alessandro, Leandro from the ministries, thank you very much for being here. To all the scientists, and last but not least, of course, to all of you from the audience who stayed with us till the very end. So thank you very much, and hope to see you next year again when we report back from what we're doing.